Alright everybody, we're back. We have an exciting year ahead, so let's get into it. So we have a new first week of full trading coming ahead, starting on the 6th of January. And we know where we come from last year and where we want to head to this year. So let's talk about the what we're looking at and kind of get an idea what to look forward to for this first week of trading in the new year. Full trading, I should say. First week of full trading in the new year. Alright. And first up is the S&P. And it found some support at that 5,800 area, or $5,878 area. Okay, after pulling back, testing it. They never did reconcile that window that they opened. But maybe we'll worry about that later on. Still have that overhead resistance of our moving averages here. And we put in a nice green bar on Friday, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything, okay? Because the volume was about as equal as the sell-off volume. So it may just be a little much ado about nothing. We don't know for sure. Once we get an open tomorrow, if we push up through here and push higher, then we know that's where we want to head. But right now, and I probably should have waited and done this after 3 p.m. when the markets somewhat open up, so we can get a better idea of what's going to happen here. But I see resistance here still. Okay, I'm looking at more resistance, and I think that this 20 days is going to come down. I think we might open up a little bit, go a little bit higher, and then push down and retest this area again. If it doesn't hold, then down into here. That's just me. I'm just looking at this S&P, and it doesn't look any stronger than it did selling. So we got a little bounce around in here, and I think it might make that W and go higher, but I see this overhead resistance coming in, and this really didn't break through here. So we'll see what happens by morning pre-market. We'll know where we're headed, because when the market opened this evening at 3 o'clock, and then we can watch, kind of see what's coming in and what's not. But I'm a little early right now. I didn't want to wait too late in the afternoon because I got a life. So here's what we got for now, okay? But look for this overhead resistance come down and maybe push us down back into here. And if we can consolidate and go higher, then we're good. If not, come down in here, close this window, and then maybe continue down into here where our moving averages, our major moving averages are 150, 200, and 200. Okay, so be careful with the S&P right now. Still looks a little shaky. Bitcoin had a pullback, but retested this area, consolidated in here a little bit. So we know we got some good support here at 91. Alright, we know we got the overhead resistance here at 100. So let's wait and see what happens. I think I can't really tell right now, and I think it's swing charting because they won't do the 24 hours that Bitcoin runs. They won't continue the monitoring for us. We have to go to some place like Coinbase or something where it's consistently going 24/7. And when I looked at Coinbase earlier, it was selling off. So we'll see what happens when the market opens on Monday, if we're going to run into some resistance here and sell off, or if we're going to continue higher. But we know this is pretty much our halfway point on this sell-off. So if we get above that, find some support and continue higher, and we may go up and retest this 107 area, which was actually should have been 108, but that's all right. We're close enough. Same thing on this chart. It wants to get above this 98 area, but it's got the 20 days sitting there trying to block it. So we'll see what happens also on this one on Monday the 6th when we open up. Alright, if we get a sell signal, then we're going to continue to come down in here and retest this area, because you see it tested it, and it just took off. And so it never really made sure that this was a good area for some support. So at some point we need to come down here and say, alright, we did the right thing, and then go higher. Or who knows, it may not. We saw Nvidia just do something crazy and just kept running, but it was a lot cheaper than Bitcoin. Next up is oil. And crude oil, we had that consolidation in there. We were talking about it, maybe it wants to run back up, and it did. It took off. Alright, so we know our energy is alive and well. Alright, so we'll just throw that in there for now. And we'll say 71.61 is a support area, or 71.60 or somewhere in there. So keep an eye on that. Got overhead resistance coming where trade wins. We may get some consolidation in here, or we may blast on through it and then come back and retest it. We saw we had this, nice big green bar turn red up in here, so $78. So we want to get back up to 78 and retest that area and then see what happens. Probably get a little pullback and then continue on through it. Alright, that's crude oil. Next up is the E-mini S&P 500 index futures, and that one is definitely in a downtrend. Or I shouldn't say downtrend, but it's definitely run to some resistance in this area here. Alright, so keep an eye on that. We get a red bar and a sell-off. Then we know we're going to go back down in here to retest this area down in here on the S&P. But right now it's looking, the volume is not as high as the sell volume, so that may just be a little bit of a bounce and then continue lower, or maybe just some people covered in here on their shorts, and we got a little bit of a bounce because of that coverage. But now we get back up into this halfway point on this move down. We have to see if we're going to hit that halfway point and sell off or continue higher. So we'll see what happens on Monday morning, but it looks to me like we're gonna we're probably gonna get a little bit of a sell off again into Monday morning, but we'll see what happens on that, because it should be the same as this up here. Oops, dang it, how did I do that? Oops, what's going on here? Alright, it should be the same as this up here, right? So we got that overhead resistance coming. Okay, but some support in this area, so consolidate. If not, we'll do what this feller's suggesting. Sell off. Next up, Ethereum, and Ethereum is going back up to retest this sell off here. It's about midway point up. Ran into some resistance with the 20-day. We know Bitcoin is actually pushing up again also, so that may be dragging Ethereum up as well. You got Ethereum's highs up here. Alright, so we want to retest that eventually. Okay, 4100. We'll see what happens. 20 days acting as resistance right now, and we'll open up Monday and see where we're at. All right, we got resistance in this area too. We had this almost a tweezer right there. Tried to push up through it, but it couldn't do it. Sold off. So that resistance area there of 3,700. All right. Next up, oh, we got another Ethereum, same thing. Next up, gold. And gold actually found some support at around 25.98. Okay, bounced up, came back, stayed in that support area. Now it's pushing up again. It's got the 9 and the 8 SMA underneath. I added that 8 SMA because I was trying to see something, so I just left it in there as a double support or resistance area. And yeah, put a nice red bar on Friday. So we want to continue higher or open up lower and keep an eye and see where we're going to hit. If we're going to come back down in here and retest again before going higher, or if we're going to break down and head lower. So that's gold. We'll see what happens on Monday. The E-mini NASDAQ 100 index, and you see it had to sell off, found some support, and put in a nice green bar, but we still got that overhead resistance for it. So look out for Monday morning when we open up, we head lower, then yeah, that's going to be some support. If that doesn't hold, look for the next support down here at 19. And we got silver. The silver has come down in the trade winds, trying to find support down in here at around 29. If it doesn't hold, we sell off and we break below this 29 area, and we know that we're going to go lower. Alright. What the heck is going on here? And that's silver. And then we got our Dow, and the Dow found some support in this area here. Alright, so we know that there's a little bit of support here. Alright. So we have to wait and see what happens. We got the 20-day rolling over. Got the 9 and the 8 just overhead resistance. So you may get a little bit of pop back up into this 43 area and then sell off again. The Dow is not showing much strength in going higher. It looks like it wants to continue lower. So keep an eye on that. And the Dow is going to affect some of your, you got your Dow stocks and you got your S&P stocks and you got your Russell stocks. So be careful with that. And then next up is the Russell. And the Russell found some support down in here. Actually came down and touched that 150 simple moving average coming up, and use it also as a support. And it also had a little bit of support area in here in the past, in that area. Okay, so you reuse that area along with the moving averages as support, and now we're heading higher. But we got the 20-day overhead coming down to try to crush it and push it back lower. We also have this overhead resistance that was previous high. So, and we had the gap through it before also. So we know that there's some struggle going on in this area. And so if we don't get above 22.94 or get above 2300, then we know we're going to continue back down in here to this area and try to consolidate some more before going higher, which should pull our moving averages down lower and should also take our trade winds up higher to help force it up. But we'll see what happens heading into the new year. And then we got the Russell 2000 ETF, same thing. Overhead. That's a short. So let me go on to where we're next up is the, you're not looking at that. That's a short and it's selling off, but it looks like it's going to have some support from the 20. So if this is Russell, the short, then the other one would be the long, and the long, our short is looking like it wants to sell off some more. So we should be long on the other Russell. But we'll see what happens. Because it does have the 20-day coming up to support. So it's the inverse of the other. Right? Let's go back to our UT. Okay, so overhead. So we have the Russell Bull. Alright, it's gone up to retest this area. And we have the Russell Bear RWM, and coming down to find some support in that 20-day. See if it's going to go back up to retest this area. Alright, so Monday morning when we open up, we'll see who's going to win that battle. And then you can be nimble and adjust if that's what you're trading. Alright, so after that, now we're going to go to our holiday trade and discuss why we're really here. Alright, so Apple, which is information technology, but at the same time it's in a lot of other areas, retail and communication and just so many other areas, which makes Apple such a strong stock, because it's in a lot of what we do. But it did continue to sell off. Now it's below our moving averages here, 20-day. It looks like it wants to come back and retest this 248 area. But that right there, that little bar there that put in on the 3rd, kind of says, I don't know what I want to do. So we have to watch out come Monday morning to see what happens with Apple. If that opens up lower, then we're going to retest this area down here at 237 or 233. So between 233 and 237 in here, and see if we're going to continue higher then. Next up is Adidas, and it continues to do a sell-off. Got the overhead, 20-day overhead coming down. It's stuck in the trade winds right now, so be careful with that one on the open on Monday. If it opens up lower, then we're probably going to come down here and close this window at 112, and maybe even continue lower. Adidas presents a good shorting opportunity. Next up is Amazon, and Amazon came down, found some support in this area here. Yeah. And so we know we have to keep an eye on that area. Alright, but meanwhile it's run into some resistance here, put in a nice little bar, but the volume was lower than the shorting volume. So we'll see what happens on Monday. If we open up lower on Monday morning, then we're probably going to retest this 2019 area. If we blow through that, then look out below. We're going to come down in here to this 200 area and find some support there, because back over here we retested it, and resistance here, support here, found some support here. So keep an eye on that one. If you open up lower and this doesn't hold, then look out below. Next up is Abercrombie and Fitch, and we got our push up through the trade winds, which acted as some support. It consolidated in between here, between the 150 and the 200 SMA. We got some consolidation, and now we got a little bit of a breakout. Volume was kind of low, but we still got that little bit of a breakout. So if we open up higher, then keep an eye on that to go higher, back up to the 196 area, which is about a $40 move. Okay, so that'd be a nice little, if you can catch that and ride that, it'd be a nice little payday for you. Okay, looking at a $40 move back up to retest this 196 area. And we got our support in here, so I think we got enough support to push us higher. And these everything is so tightly wound here with all our moving averages. It'd be a hard break, so it should break higher. If it breaks lower, it's going to gap down and go lower, which I don't suspect it's going to do that. I suspect we're going to put in some more green bars running higher to retest this 196 area. So that's that on Abercrombie and Fitch. Next up is BABA, and BABA found some support with the 200 SMA. It's got the overhead resistance of the 200 EMA, moving exponential. So keep an eye on that. We need to get some a nice good green bar to push us up and get us up through here to know what we're actually going to be doing. But so far it's found the support here at around that $85 area. Okay, so keep an eye on that on Monday when we open up. So a lot of this has to do with Monday. I probably should have waited and did this on Monday and then came in and told you what I really thought. So, but I didn't. Here I am now. Maybe I'll redo it again on Monday. Shoot. Just trying to give you a heads up what to look for Monday morning. And then Monday evening I'll do another one. How does that sound? Sound good? Wait a minute. Trying something new, as you can tell, if you've been with me for a minute. Alright, next up is BBWI, and it's got some overhead resistance coming in. It ran into some resistance in this area here, which was resistance in the past. So we know that it's going to be trying its hardest to get back up through here, but right now it's failing at it. We got the moving averages coming to try to help support, but this one's facing down. These are rolling over. That one's facing down. So it just kind of feels like it wants to continue going down. And it's got this window open also. So we'll see what happens. Next up is Costco. Costco found some support back in here where it was supported at earlier. And put in a kind of a doji on Friday, so it's not really sure what it wants to do, so we'll see what happens. These moving averages are rolling over and looking like they may want to force it into these moving averages coming up. So that means we'll have that support at around 892 for sure. Well, not for sure, but it should act as a support. But then you look back here, and there maybe should be a support area right there. Okay, so that white line, which was a previous high, may act as support, but it may not. It may end up coming back down into here where the actual support was seen. As you can see, it tested this area a couple times before heading higher. Okay, so our real support may be here with this line here at around 872, but we'll find out as the time rolls on. So that's what we got on Costco. Next up is Deckers Outdoor Corp, and ran into some resistance here, pushed up and lost it again, pushed up again. Doesn't seem like it has enough to continue to go higher. It looks like it wants to roll over, but we'll see what happens also on Monday morning. Monday morning, folks. That is going to be the our catalyst, let's say. It's going to be our catalyst for what's to come. And actually, after the day of trading on Monday, I should say, not Monday morning, but after the day of trading on Monday, and we'll see what kind of bar we put in. If we put in a sell bar, look out, for a retest of this area. If it doesn't hold, then going lower. Of course, we get a green bar, we're going to retest this area, and we'll find out what's going to happen from there. Alright, so it's a waiting game at this point. And tomorrow is after tomorrow's close is the game start. Next up is Dickies, and Dickies, of course, is trying to continue higher, but it's got some little bit of resistance at the 230 area, which was the high of our window that had opened. So if we can get above that, retest for support, and then continue higher, we're going to run into this 239 area, and as you can see back here was our resistance area, which made us gap down back down into here. So it's a strong area of resistance, and we'll see what happens if we go back up to retest it. Okay, so slow and forward as it goes. At that point, you don't want to be too heavy into Dickies. Alright, I'm sorry, not Dickies, but into Dick's Sporting Goods. At this point, you don't want to be too heavy. Going, or you can be as heavy as you want. Just be careful with your stop. All right. Next up is Kohl's, and Kohl's found that support down in here in this area, and it's looking pretty good, consolidating in here. Tried to get a little bounce up, but it got slapped back down to this support area. And so far, it's looking pretty good. But of course, we got our overhead resistance. This one's kind of gone flat right with us, but it's staying overhead, and they got the 20 coming down. So we'll see what happens on Kohl comes Monday evening as we revisit this, and see if it put in a nice green bar on Monday. Puts in a nice green bar on Monday, then we know the potential is to continue higher and retest this low of that window that opened up at 15, and then close that window, and then to 17, and then retest these moving averages, and hopefully they won't be too low, or hopefully they will be low enough to where we can really throw some money at it. But that's future trading, a few weeks ahead of us, because Kohl's actually, the ATR at 14 days is 62 cents an average. It moves 62 cents a day, so that could put us up here in the next 14 days. All right, next up is Lulu, and Lulu looks starting to look a little weak. Got the 20-day popping up overhead, and got some resistance from the 9 and the 8 SMA on the 3-month chart. You can see it's put in. This is not really a doji, but it's not really a good bar of decision. It looks like an indecision bar to me. They can't make up their mind. So we open up lower, it's going to put us below the support here at 376. In that case, we're probably going to continue going lower to close this window. Okay, so keep an eye on Lulu. And of course, the end of the day on Monday is going to be the decider. Next up is Macy's, and Macy's on Friday put in a nice red bar and then turned green at the end of the day. Okay, so Macy's looks like it's got some strength coming back in. Maybe everybody's like ready to rock and roll on Macy's. So we'll see what happens come Monday. If you see a bar, first part of the day, get a pull back into here. Look for towards the end of the day and see if that bar goes from red to green. And if it does go from red to green, then we know we're going to continue higher. If it stays red, then look for some consolidation in here for another day, and maybe the next day we might go green. Alright? But we'll know at the end of the day, of course, on Monday. Am I going to keep saying that? At the end of the day on Monday? I think so. Maybe I won't say it again. I think that might be enough times to say it. I think you all get the hint, right? If you've been listening this far along, you know, end of the day on Monday is when we can really make our decision. All right. So I'm not going to say end of the day on Monday again. All right. You're not funny. Next up is Nike. Let's see, $73. So it came back down to retest this area, and that's probably why I had this window on the yearly, because you can see it better. So our support really was down in here, but it found some support in here, 73. So we'll see what happens on Nike. Nike looks like it just wants to continue to sell off. and that doesn't make me very confident in Nike. And if we look, let's go further out on Nike. Let's look at 5 years from today. Yeah, so Nike's just really been getting hammered. And it looks like it wants to continue lower. It went from 179 back in 2021. Now here it is down here at 73, and I don't see no sign of any split or anything happening on Nike. So Nike right now seems to be like it's struggling. Alright, and if we go even further out, let's do a monthly on Nike and see what's happening here. Oh wow. Yeah, so Nike is kind of, it's pretty ugly at the moment. And look at that pointer right there on Nike. Yeah, that's not pretty either. Shoot. Yeah, we might be trying to come back down and reconcile this pointer on Nike. So we'll see what happens with Nike. Be curious to see if this stuff comes back down in here and reconciles this pointer. That's a pretty nasty pointer. That right there, somebody got paid. They like, boom, they put in dumped a boatload of money in here, and it just went shh, and they took it all right back out. Yeah, now it's going boom, dead cat bounce. Boom, cat. All right, I have my fun. Next up, Anon, AONON. And ooh, look at that green bar on the monthly. That is pretty. And we're back almost halfway through it. Maybe we'll come back into this 52 area for some support and continue higher. And they put in this green bar right here. So it looks like it wants to fight that and just continue higher. But we'll see. Let's go back to our regular. Let's try 3 months and see what 3 months look like. So 3 months looks like we want to continue higher. Had this indecision bar right here. And put in this green bar, but it couldn't get enough up above this 20 days. So look out on Monday. Of course, we open up. Wait a minute. My bad. So look out. Let's see what happens for this week of trading coming up. And we can decide if we're going to continue higher or go lower. All right, next up is Starbucks. And Starbucks is, it's doing its thing. It's trying to push higher. It's got the overhead resistance of the 20-day. It looks like it wants to retest this $95 area, but we'll see. Got a little bit of an indecision bar showing up right here and low volume. So it may get the 20-day, may hit it and push it down lower. We'll see what happens for this next week of trading. Next up is Skechers, and Skechers got rejected. Look at that, man. Tried to go in for the slam dunk and got slapped out of his hands and got rejected right back down to the 20-day. But the 20-day was like, I got you, bro. I got you. And caught it. And so now we're going to see what happens on the open on Monday. All right? So keep an eye on Skechers. But right now it looks like it wants to find some support in here and continue higher, or consolidate in this area to go higher. But the 69.80 area is some resistance area. All right, next up is Target. Target is trying to push higher to close his window that it opened. Put in a red bar on Friday, but you know what? It has some moving averages coming up under the support. So let's see what happens on the next week of trading. Next up is TJX, and TJX has found some support in this area here. At around 120. Got overhead resistance coming in big time though. Our 8 or 9 SMA, and then we got our 20 SMA rolling over also. So let's see what happens next week of trading with TJX. But it looks like it's going to run to quite a bit of resistance and maybe push down and back into our window area here, or our upper portion of our window, and then maybe push higher. But we'll see what happens next week. Next up is Tilly's. Tilly's did that run. It did it. I said it. I said Tilly's looked like it wants to take off, and it did. Wait a minute, hold on. Thank you. I'm going to bust my arm and pat myself on the back on that one. Anyhow. So here we're back up to this resistance area, but in a little bit of a almost a indecision doji. So maybe we might want to push up a little bit higher and see what happens. Come back and retest this area. But yeah, be careful with Tilly's on next week of trading. And then we got UA, which is Under Armour, and Under Armour found some support in our trade wins. Down here, the let's call it $7.27, $7.30 maybe, $7.20, something like that. We know it's an even number, but it always shows up odd. Anyhow, we're gonna call that our support. We're gonna even make it green and say that's our bottom for now. You know what I'm saying? $7.27. Alright, so let's consolidate in here and then push higher. We got our 20-day coming down to act as a resistance. We got our overhead resistance of the 200 moving exponential, and we got the 150 overhead, and we got our 120, our 200 SMA underneath that support. Alright, so let's hope our SMA continues to support. Let's get some consolidation and then a run higher. We got our earnings coming up also on the February 6th, so look out for that. And that's going to be a catalyst as well. Alright, so keep an eye on Under Armour. I think we're going to see a nice little spike on that and maybe get a good $3 move at some point. Alright, so keep an eye on that one. But be careful, it's not going to be a long term, it's going to be a short term. Get back up to $10 and you may want to consider your options. Alright, next up is Ulta. And Ulta is running into some resistance. Put in that hammer there, and it's a it's a bearish looking hammer. So Ulta is looking like a sell, but we got the support here, and we also have the 20-day coming up. So keep an eye on Ulta for the next couple of days and see what it does. If it continues to sell off, but it's starting to look a little weak, in my opinion. And our trade wins are kind of cattywampus right now too. They're a little confused as well. So keep an eye on Ulta. It looks like we may be running into some trouble with Ulta. All right, next up is VFC, and VFC is selling off. It came down and had a nice little pump up. It looked like it wanted to do something, but these overhead resistance with the 9 and the 8 SMA and then the 20-day. And then it also had that little doji right there, which was like, I don't know what I really want to do. And it was like, I might try something. And it put in this weird looking bar, like a doji as well, a fat doji. So it's like, call it a fat indecision right there. I'm making that up, so don't. That's my name for this bar. That's my fat indecision. All right, I haven't seen anybody that spoke of that one yet, so that's my fat indecision bar, and not starting to sell off here. So Monday will let us know what we're going to actually be doing on that one. And that's VF Corporation. Next up, Wally World, and the last but not least is Wally World. And Wally World, doji, but we got a green bar, but we got overhead resistance. So it was doji, right? And it pumped up, but overhead resistance says be careful. All right, so we'll see what happens with that one also next week of trading. So be careful with that one, because even though it put in a green bar above this doji, it still had this overhead resistance with these other dojis. Alright? So, and it couldn't close above them. So that's another indication that we might be heading lower still in Wally World. Alright. So that is all I got. A lot of it has to do with next week of trading, like I said before. So I hope you guys enjoyed what I put out. I hope you liked and subscribed. that have really helped me out with my channel. Maybe they'll let me do some more stuff that I'm trying to add little things back in there, and with my vlogs and all that stuff. So I'm trying to make it a little more entertaining without having to show my face, because I don't want people stopping me on the street asking me questions about trading stocks or telling me I made them lose their money, because that's not what I'm all about. I'm all about trying to help you guys, decide what to do with what you're going to do. And I hope that I'm not confusing you. I hope I make it pretty simple and easy to follow, and if with patience you'll do really well with a lot of this stuff. But a lot of it's just based on your patience. And then you have to be careful too with whatever trading platform you're using, because you best believe that there's somebody on the other side of this, on the other side of these apps looking at what you're doing. And even if it's just some AI program. And that's another thing, I'm going to put out some AI stocks that I was interested in too, which I'll probably do one of those tonight also. One that I was looking at that I was kind of interested in, that was at a pretty decent price right now. So anyway, probably need to do one of those, because I know there's a lot of stocks that you guys would probably like to look at also. So I'll probably get a rundown put down also, which I'll probably do that Saturday, next week. Saturday is going to be the 11th. I'll probably do that on the 11th. I'll put out another rundown, I'll run down my whole list of my active trades, and we'll see what we think about it. Alright, anyway, I hope, alright, so, yeah, thanks for stopping by. Please like, please subscribe, and hit the notification bar, because some good things are coming this year, and we're going to make it happen. Alright, so, as always, be careful out there. These markets are crazy.